Happy spooky season, Carolina, and welcome to another episode of Capital City Sports. My name is Forrest Tucker. Our team was hard at work this week covering soccer, volleyball, and an SEC away matchup in Knoxville for Carolina football this week. Let's get right to it. After a Conference USA win versus FAU, the men's soccer team was in action midweek against the visiting Jacksonville Dolphins. Madden Coakley was at Stone Stadium for the match.
Thanks, Forrest. It's Gamecocks versus Dolphins at Stone Stadium here tonight as Carolina takes on Jacksonville, coming off their win against FAU on Sunday. It's Dolphins first on the board with a goal by Kai Bennett as the only point for the remainder of a competitive first half. Jacksonville added to their lead with a beautiful header by Connor Lufkin in the 46th minute and a third goal by Inti Antunes in the 68th. After a primarily defensive game, the Gamecocks came alive in the final minutes of the second half. With multiple opportunities on the attack, they ultimately denied the Dolphins a shutout with goals by Brian Banhan in the 80th and a midfield shot taken by Tucker Monheimer in the last 2 remaining seconds of the match. This victory puts Jacksonville at 5-5-2, and the Gamecocks will have to get their head in the game as they head over to Lexington, Kentucky this Sunday to play the number 16th ranked Wildcats. For Capital City Sports, I'm Madden Coakley. Back to you, Forrest.
We'll stick with soccer here, but turn our attention to the women's team. The Gamecocks battled the Ole Miss Rebels on Thursday night as they look to remain undefeated in SEC play. Connor Lomas made the trip to the graveyard for senior night.
Thank you, Forrest. Here on a chilly fall night at Stone Stadium, the Gamecocks dominated the Ole Miss Rebels with a score of 2-0, both goals coming in each half.
Seniors Alexa Barr, Grace Fisk, Becky Cook, Michaela Krasowski, and Tatum Milazzo were all honored before the game. The Gamecocks were very aggressive early with 8 shots on goal in the first half, 15 throughout the entire game. The Gamecocks would eventually find the back of the net in the first half with a sequence that started before midfield and ended in a through ball to forward Alexa Barr, who finished calmly, putting the Gamecocks up 1-0. Celebration would begin early for the Gamecocks as they wouldn't look back after the first goal. Ole Miss was presented with little opportunity for offense in the match as they had possession of the ball much less than the Gamecocks. Their greatest opportunity came on a shot which ricocheted off the post by midfielder Molly Martin. In the second half, it was Claire Griffiths with an absolute rocket to the upper 90 which sealed the Gamecocks' victory at 2-0.
The Gamecocks will travel to Florida October 27th at 3 p.m. to take on the Gators. With Capital City Sports, I'm Connor Lomas. Back to you, Forrest.
After a loss to the Florida Gators at Williams-Brice Stadium, the Gamecocks traveled to Knoxville to take on the struggling Volunteers on Saturday. Justin Lindler was at Neyland Stadium for this SEC contest.
Coming off a loss at home against Florida, South Carolina was looking to rebound after what many are calling a controversial officiating game. South Carolina played in Neyland Stadium today against the Tennessee Volunteers.
South Carolina head coach Will Muschamp led his team into Neyland Stadium with a perfect 7-0 career record against Tennessee as a head coach. It didn't take long for the Gamecocks to strike gold, as Ryan Helensky connected with Shai Smith on a 75-yard touchdown, giving them an early 7-0 lead. The Volunteers would respond on the following drive with a field goal. Tennessee was ruled just short of the goal line early in the second quarter and opted to go for it on 4th down. The attempt was unsuccessful, but the Tennessee defense more than made up for it with a big sack on 3rd down, forcing the Gamecocks to punt. Marquez Callaway would return this punt 65 yards for a Tennessee touchdown, the 3rd of his career. South Carolina regained the lead late in the second quarter after Mon Denton forced his way into the end zone. It would only take Tennessee 2 plays to respond, however, when Jarrett Garantano found Jawan Jennings for a 48-yard touchdown. With under 30 seconds until the half, Brian Edwards hauled in his own nominee for Catch of the Year. He was called out at the 1, which set up a Tavian Feaster touchdown, giving South Carolina the 21-17 lead at halftime. Early in the third quarter, Tennessee fans, players, and coaches became irate with the officials for missing several calls. The Vols offense would overcome the adversity with another Jawan Jennings touchdown, this one from 19 yards out, and it was all Big Orange from here. On the next drive, JT Shrout connected with Marquez Callaway for a huge 55-yard touchdown, just increasing the Tennessee lead. When it rains, it pours for South Carolina. Joseph Charleston's punt was blocked by the Tennessee defense, and the Volunteers recovered it in the end zone. Tennessee would go on to win with a final score of 41-21.
South Carolina is looking to find those winning ways again once they head back to Williams-Brice Stadium next Saturday for homecoming when they host the Vanderbilt Commodores. For Capital City Sports, I'm Justin Lindler.
In the midst of their SEC schedule, the Carolina volleyball team played host to the Alabama Crimson Tide on Sunday afternoon. Evan Newton had the coverage from the Carolina Volleyball Center.
Thanks, Forrest. The Gamecocks defeated SEC foe Alabama Crimson Tide today, 3-0. The Gamecocks made quick work of the first 2 sets and fended off an Alabama comeback in the third.
Looking to improve to 5-4 in SEC play, the Gamecocks rode Mackenzie Mormon's 4 kills to take the first, which at one point was tied at 8 points. USC pulled away with a 5-point run to close the set 25-15. The home team never trailed in the second, opening with 4 straight points and eventually overpowering the struggling Crimson Tide behind Michaela Robinson's 5 kills, taking this set by 11 points with a score of 25-14. The third set was a much tougher test for the Gamecocks, which went point for point until a 6-point run by South Carolina closed out the game 25-19. Mormon and Michaela Robinson dominated for a combined 23 kills.
The Gamecocks improved their record to 13-8, and their next game will be here against the LSU Tigers November 1st at 7 p.m. With Capital City Sports, I'm Evan Newton, and now back to you, Forrest.
Now for an update on the rest of the week's Garnet and Black action, here's Alexa Daly.
I'm Alexa Daly, and because we can't cover everything, I'm here to give you a quick recap of the Gamecocks' busy weekend. First, the equestrian team took on the number 1 ranked Auburn and lost the meet 14-6. However, senior Caroline Guta and sophomore Sloan Vogt were honored Most Outstanding Player awards. Volleyball started the first of their 3-game homestead with a sweep over the Volunteers. This win was led by Michaela Shields, who had 12 kills for the day. The Gamecocks will end their homestand against LSU Friday. The 8th-ranked women's soccer team traveled to take on the 20th-ranked Florida Gators. This game ended in a 1-1 draw. South Carolina still remains the only unbeaten team in the SEC, but remains second in the standing via points. And finally, the men's soccer team traveled to Kentucky, resulting in a 4-0 loss. This loss snapped the Gamecocks' conference winning streak. That's all I've got for you. Thanks for tuning in. Forrest, back to you.
Well, that's all the Gamecock Sports we have for you this week, USC. Be sure to check back next week for more action. As always, please follow us on Twitter at CCS on SGTV. My name is Forrest Tucker, and happy Halloween, Gamecocks. Forever to thee.